All right, bear with me here. This is the first recording I've done. But what you will see is in that file, you have two files, or in that folder. The first is the acrylic. We don't need to do anything here. We'll spend all of our editing time here in the thick wood one. Now I've taken your measurements and put them in here just so we have them. 0.10 and then the 0.19. So first what we need to see is just how thick the base of this is going to be, which is the lines here. So these are going to be your acrylic. And if we click on it, we can see the thickness here. So it's a little bit thick, and we'll come back to updating that. And then if we just draw a box here, we can see the dimensions between there. And this should be the same as our wood. And you'll notice that it is a little bit thin. So we'll go ahead and bump that up as well. Again, we'll come back to those. Note that for this, we're going to do 0.2 for the wood instead of 0.19. And that's just to make sure that there's room to wiggle that piece of wood in there. So where we're going to start is actually with these end pieces. These ones are going to be the outside pieces with a score line, and then these are going to be cut internally, and that's going to hold the acrylic in place so that it doesn't wobble. Currently, you'll notice those are too big for the acrylic and then too small for the wood. So that's where we need to start. Now, looking at these pieces, this piece here is probably going to be our easiest piece to edit. I'm just going to take it down here so we don't mess with anything we have above. Just move that over. So first, let's go ahead and separate this. What we're going to do is first update this, and then we will come back and make changes to this piece. So first, if we take the acrylic and we double it, and then we also add the wood, we get 0.39, and we're just going to jump or bump it up to 0.4. You'll notice that this here is only 0.37, and then I'm not exactly sure what the measurements are up here. It's not really important, so we'll go ahead and skip that. So to remake this centerpiece, all we need to do is come and grab a square, and I'm actually going to take a step back and just copy this measurement here. That way we have the height the same. So again, come in and grab a square. We'll paste in that height. And then for the thickness, remember we want 0.4. So we'll go ahead and create that. Let's change the color just so we have some contrast here. So now what we have is the new outside piece. You'll see it is just a hair bigger than what we have here. Really not too much though, because we haven't really added much. Now, the other thing we need to do is get that U shape right here in the middle. So we're going to come in and create another rectangle. This time we don't need it quite as long, maybe just an inch. And what we actually want is the 0.2. So we're just accounting for the wood in the middle. So go ahead and create that. I'll zoom in. If you zoom in far enough, you'll go ahead and get these, which just round the edges. We're going to fully round the edge, and then we're going to drag it. And what I like to do is make it the same height as this. So then when I bring it over to this piece, I can highlight both, center, and then align atop. And what this is doing is just showing we'll get the same length below. And then it's also centered. So then let's just extend it. We're going to cut this piece off, but this gives us the appropriate measurements here on each side and then in the middle. To validate this, I do sometimes just come in and grab a square, validate that when I click this, it looks like it's just shy of the 0.10, which is actually probably just fine, but to be safe, let's go ahead and grab this one and then just bump it down to, I don't know, 0.198. And then we'll recenter just to validate. And then let's of course come in and once again measure. So now we have the point 10. It should be good and work for your material. Okay, so what we have is the general shape. What we need to do is merge these two together. Oops, not that. Let's go ahead and come into the select tool. So select all, and then over here in Pathfinder, you're going to come to divide. Now what that does is everywhere it intersects, it creates a new shape. You're not going to notice this just by clicking until you hit ungroup. Once you hit ungroup, then you can come and click on the individual shapes. We don't want that shape, and we also don't want this shape here. So now we have the same looking piece minus this bottom. To get rid of that, we will come to the direct selection tool, zoom in, scroll down, select it. And once we've selected, we now have this cut option, which allows us to cut at anchor. So if we click on the anchor and hit cut, click on the other anchor and hit cut, now what we have is a separate piece here that if you highlight, you can go ahead and delete. So what you'll see, just make sure. So what you see is we have the same piece as we do with the other one, and now we just need to edit this one. So what we did, if we take these two pieces, do it separately, you'll see that we have 3796, and this one is 0.4. I like to just make sure that we bump this piece up to account for that. This part is definitely not required. It's just something I prefer to do. So to do this, let's go ahead and get those shapes again. Let me just move my screen here a little bit so we have that calculator easily accessible. So first, let's go ahead with the big one. This is 0.4, and then we'll go ahead and subtract this smaller one. And this is just going to tell us the difference. So now that we know what the difference is between the two, if we come to this piece, we can go ahead and add it. Actually, let's go ahead and save this. Save that number down here just in case we need it. But then what we can do is add that number here. Here we go. To this. And then this is going to be our new dimension. So now if we just copy this number and paste it in here, all we're doing is accounting for the little bit of extra that we've added here to these support pieces. That way they have the same structural support. Hopefully I'm making sense here. But now what we want to do, this piece no longer matters. We can get rid of it. We can take these two pieces here and we're going to align them and then bottom align. And what we have is now the same piece that we had here, that outside support. Now to get the inside support, what we need to do is take this and just copy it and paste it right next here. And we're going to go back and use that divide tool again. So coming to Pathfinder, divide. Now I have two shapes here. I can ungroup. And if we come in here, we can delete that piece. So that part was really simple. Now because it has two sides, what we need to do is just make two more supports. So I just like to put those nice and close. Control to copy those, paste them right next to it. And if you want to get real fancy, you can come in here and align them all, up to you. So now we have the side supports. They will house the 0.10 acrylic and then the 0.2 or 0.19 thick wood. So those should be good. Now we can come to the base. Remember I mentioned that we are going to adjust these, and first these supports are really easy. We can come in here and just adjust for 10. This is going to make sure that your acrylic doesn't wobble when you put it in here. You may still need a little bit of glue just to make sure it's nice and tight, but this should help with the wobbling. Now what we need to do is just make sure that, I'll color this so it's easy to see, that this space in between these two pieces is the 0.2. So the easy way to do this is come to this square and just bump it up to 0.2. Then we have the appropriate width. What I like to do is take this piece and this, maybe, highlight both of those, and then if we align, actually let's do that a little bit different. So let's go ahead and make this, instead of 0.2, we're going to make it 0.3 to account for that acrylic. Now if we come here, we can top align these. And then we have the same there. I lied. Let's do a 0.4. This will make it the easiest. So now if I come here, I can top align these ones and then bottom align these ones. And you'll notice the blue moved there. So if we highlight the blue and the other ones, and then click on it so it is, my goodness, it's being stubborn here. So if we highlight both and then click on the blue so it's most selected, where it highlights it in darker blue, then if I click on this, it will align to the most selected item. So let's just validate here on the bottom that that's aligned to. There we go. So now what we have a space that's going to fit for our acrylics, so acrylic there and there, and then this will allow for that wood piece to slide in there. Let's go ahead and remove that blue rectangle. We don't need it anymore. Just because we messed with these two, I always like to come in and make sure that they're aligned center, and they are. Now, if we wanted to, and this is again completely optional, we could make these two pieces just a little bit wider since we increase the width of the supports. This is going to be really easy. We take this measurement here, that width. We'll go ahead and, oops, wrong one, this height. So we take that height here, and then we add this number that I said we might need. If we add that to this, this is our new thickness that we would want. So just make sure you have this select there, not the text. If I come in here and change this 1.6331, it hardly made any change, but it just accounts for the updated supports that we made. So everything else should be the same. These should be the exact same measurements to each other. They are. So this piece will be glued underneath of this one. Make sure to update the name there. And then these, you will cut this one, score the pink line, or in your case the purple line, because that's what we updated. And then the black is cut. So then glue this piece to these piece, and then it's going to glue onto the sides when you put that acrylic in there. That should be everything. Let me go ahead and just delete all of these. You shouldn't need them anymore. And let me go ahead and delete these ones too, just so you don't unintentionally print the wrong ones. So now you have the updated file. You should be good to go. Let's go ahead and save this. And I always save as SVGs. I don't have a good reason why. And then I'm just gonna update this to be 1.25 wood. Not super creative, but it should be enough to get the point across. If you have any questions, please let me know. I know I rambled a little bit in here, but yeah, let me know.